Hey guys, Coach Michael Burt here. Welcome to another episode of Good Coach, Bad Coach. Secrets of great coaches know that the others never quite figure out. And we believe that a good coach can change your life. We believe 1 hour can change your life. Your podcast, your vodcast, your radio. We also believe there's a lot of freaking bad coaches in the world. And you know I say this every time.
It cracks me up every time.
But there's a reason. There's a reason that we believe we need to have a show called Good Coach, Bad Coach. If you're a manager, leader, coach, the question is, are you a good coach or are you a bad coach? And Bruce, we just flew in from Dallas, Texas. We've been in Los Angeles at a Tony Robbins event. We just flew in from Dallas yesterday where we spoke with the literary agent and we were talking about this concept. We were talking about either bringing person of interest back out to market. And about halfway through that meeting, I said, here's the book I want to write. Everybody needs a coach in life. She immediately said, that's it. That's what we need to do.
Yep.
And so we believe everybody needs a good coach in life. And today's topic is what?
Like you said, we've been on the road a lot lately, and which means we travel Southwest usually, which means free Wi-Fi. I love that because then I can watch television. I watch these documentaries. And the one I was watching this last flight was actually on Tom Coughlin and Marty Schottenheimer, who are two great Hall of Fame. Well, Tom Coughlin will be a Hall of Fame coach at some point, who's won Super Bowls with the New York Giants. But I started watching these, and every one of them has some kind of basic philosophies when it comes to being a great coach. And those philosophies I started noticing were, who were they studying under? Who were they studying underneath getting started? And a big part of that is the coaching trees. So, before the show, we were kind of talking about all these great coaching trees. And Bill Parcells is one of them. I printed off this little handout. And you go through this list, and you got guys like Romeo Crennel, you got Jim Fossil, Jim Schwartz, Eric Mangini, Nick Saban. These guys are all either head coaches in the NFL, were head coaches, or are college coaches. Sean Payton's on there, Tony Sperano, Tom Coughlin, the guy I was talking about, with the show. Mm-hmm. And so you just start thinking, man, how impactful a guy like Bill Parcells is. But the legacy that he leaves and the mentorship that he leaves with all these great coaches. And so my question for you is, when you start studying all these great coaches, typically they come from another great coach, because they learn from them. That's the whole expert concept, really. Mm-hmm. And my question for you then is, how important is it to have that mentorship early in your life, to kind of build those core philosophies for you as a great coach?
Well, let me put it to you this way. Do you believe who's coaching you matters?
And that's actually today's topic.
And do you believe that, see, to me, in a saturated and commoditized world, where you get your competitive advantage is from your coach. Mm-hmm. So if you don't have a coach, you're already at a disadvantage. I was working with a real estate agent just a few minutes ago who's never had a coach pretty much in her whole life. She's stuck at a point, and here's the deal. She's not going to break through that point until she gets some coaching from somebody. So if you believe who's coaching you matters, then yes, who you work under matters, who you study from. So if you look at my tree, it goes all the way back to Don Meyer.
Yep.
Then it went Stephen Covey, Dan Sullivan, Grant Cardone. These are people who have been coaches to me. Mark Fortune, who was my enterprise coach. Mark LeBlanc, who's my first success business coach. These are people I've been coached by in some way or another. So I 100% believe who's coaching you matters, right? Hey, we got Good Time Tommy in the group today.
I just walked in. Can you hear me on here? I have a question. Do you think it's a structural blueprint that these coaches that they bring, or is there something internal? Like what you talk about, swag, confidence, because what I get a lot from you is probably more internal than it is a blueprint to how I'm going to be successful. So what's your opinion on that?
I think that different people get different things. Because if I polled 10 different people in our coaching programs, they'd all tell me they get something different. For you, it's internal. So you internalize it. You when I'm coaching you, you think about it, you synthesize it, you break it down. Some of it you act on, some of it you don't, based on what you like. Other people say he gives me structure. Yeah. Some people say he gives me accountability. Some people say he'll call me out when nobody else will. Some people say I like his strategies. So to me, I think about all the coaches I've been coached by. Meyer gave me this. Sport should be used to distribute and teach life. Cardone gave me 10x.
And it depends on what stage you are in life too, probably, right? What you're looking for.
Yeah, you get exactly what you're looking for.
One last question. Sorry to hijack the show. Good time Tommy loves
Hey, you
to
just wanna
come
come
in
sit down over
and
here,
get
Tommy?
attention. The coaches you're talking about, like a Bill Parcells, a
Tom
Bill
Coughlin.
Walsh, these guys, they have great trees. Their guys, there's something that they have that is a competitive advantage over others. I don't know if it's they know more football or have more understanding of how to coach. What do you think makes these coaches more successful that have been under a great leader as opposed to the other guys that have just come up under mediocre coaches?
I think each one of these coaches bring, and you said it, they bring a special sauce. They bring something. So what is it? Their mindset, their engine, their knowledge. When I think about some of these football coaches, like Coughlin, for example. Coughlin's not, he's just kind of rigid, but guy knows something. And so each coach brings something unique to the equation. And if you could extract, I'm sitting here thinking about the people that I've coached. That I've been coached by in some way, and there's a little piece of them that comes with me. Yeah. What I learned from Keith Short when I was an assistant coach was he was very likable. Everybody liked the guy. I didn't think he was disciplined enough, but people liked him, and I took that away. I extracted that. What if I was likable and disciplined? I take away from these different coaches. Covey, the deep methodology. So different coaches bring different things to the table, and you extract what you want, you leave the rest, and you take home what you want to get, and you don't take home everything.
Well, let's take a break here. In the second session here, we'll talk about who's coaching you. Very important.
Hey, this is Coach Micheal Burt, and I have a prediction. Within the next 5 years, every manager in the world will have to become a coach. A good coach will do 3 things for you. They make you have conversations you don't want to have. They make you do some things you don't want to do. They'll help you become something you didn't think you could become. This transition, what I call the coaching revolution, prompted me to create a program called Turn Your Managers into Coaches. What we want to do is drive up engagement, drive up production. We want to become a manager other people want to follow. If you've got managers out there that you want to turn into coaches that engage people in systematic behaviors that allows them to do something tomorrow they simply cannot do today, pick up the phone and call us, 225-8380, 615-225-8380, or email us at info@coachburt.com, and we're going to teach you how to turn your managers into great coaches. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Good Coach, Bad Coach. Secrets of great coaches know that the others never figure out. We're coming to you live from the Greatness Factory in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, our training facility. If you listen to us on iTunes, Stitcher, Podcast Republic, download Good Coach, Bad Coach, because this is a show that I believe will make coaches think. I know a lot of college coaches listen to this show. A lot of big-time Division I coaches listen to this show. A lot of managers listen to this show. And so here's the big topic today. Who's coaching you?
Yeah.
And why does that matter? And have you gotten to a point in your life that you think you don't need any coaching? Because that's really what happens.
That is what
Here would
happens.
be my question. Okay, here's a big question here. Who's coaching Belichick? Who's coaching Saban? Who's coaching Butch Jones at Tennessee? Who's coaching Coughlin? Who was coaching John Gruden when he was coaching? Who's coaching these cats? Or do they just get together and mastermind with each other? Because I'm going to tell you, the hardest people for me to coach, to be honest with you, are people at the very top of their profession. They've learned, they've heard, everything.
Yeah.
We went to Tony Robbins in L.A., and after 4, 5, 6 hours of that, man, I'm like, okay, I got it. I don't need to stay here for 4 days. But we went looking for something, and we got it. And so that's the question is, are these people still coachable? Now, I would like to, I hear Urban Meyer does a lot of stuff as far as bringing business experts and bring in different people to work with him, and evaluate his relationship between him and the players. See, that's impressive to me. That's impressive that he's smart enough to say, I want a third person to look at my operation.
Yep.
And I'm very humble to open the doors for somebody to do
And
that.
the reality is, a great coach is always looking for that little advantage.
Yep.
And so great coaches are always looking out there, and they're studying other people. They might not actually sit down with another coach, but they're studying. What are they doing? And you had that experience when you were a championship coach, right? Or before you were a championship coach. You're studying all these other coaches, and you're trying to figure out that 2 millimeters of change is what you talk about.
Yeah, and here's the reality. I figured out after 6 or 7 years I couldn't get there. And so I sat down with 6 coaches. I remember it like it was yesterday. And I just asked them, what am I not doing? And they were quick. I mean, They immediately said, here's what you're not doing.
And but you're open to it.
And I'm sitting here like, man, why didn't I do this 10 years ago? This was stupid.
Yeah.
And I remember a coach at a game one night had another coach come and watch her team play. And I was like, why would you do that? I mean, why did you? And she said, because she can see things that I can't see. And I was so young at that time, I didn't get it. But later on, I got it. You know, you really need somebody else to come in and watch your team play and perform and evaluate and make comments and say, I don't understand why you're doing this. But you got to be humble and hungry to do that.
And what was fascinating when I was watching these documentaries is, a lot of coaches go through some kind of turmoil, or even they get fired, and then somebody else picks them up. Well, typically what happens when they get fired is they have a 1 year off, and they take a step back, and they evaluate what was working, what wasn't working, what's holding me back. Sometimes the crucial conversations comes from their own families. They would basically come out and say, listen, you're an asshole. And they would tell them that. Your players don't want to play for you. They hate you. They don't like you. And so that was Tom Coughlin's biggest thing is, he has the 10-minute, if you're not 10 minutes early, you're late rule. And so guys like Strahan and these seasoned veterans, they hated that rule, and they hated these two-a-days that he puts them through. And so the 2 millimeters of change for him was just becoming a little more likable and a little more understanding for his players, and you can see that. And so, that's why I like these documentaries. They're so cool.
And a lot of times you need another person to smack you around. You need another person to call you out. You need another person to say, look, man, I mean, this is what's costing you a lot of opportunity here. It's your own self, your own attitude, your own laziness, your own discipline. All right, we got another question from the audience. We got an audience of one here today, and good time Tommy Davidson, top real estate agent here. And he's like another question for it. Go ahead, Tommy.
Well, I'd like to know this. Why do you think more coaches will not seek counsel of other successful coaches? Is it a fear? Is it an insecurity? Why do you think more coaches don't do that?
It is purely one thing, pride. We did a show last week called How Coachable Are You? And I studied the tenets of an unteachable spirit. Pride, rebellion, foolishness, ignorance. Here's one, intimidation. See, coaches are paid to be smart. Coaches are paid to get results. They see it as a sign of weakness if they got to call somebody else in, which is stupid. I mean, I can't tell you how stupid this is. And I don't want to say one group is worse than the other, but it seems like to me sometimes football coaches have a harder time listening to people than other coaches do, okay? Because I've even had football coaches tell me, oh, I believe in all this stuff you do. We really need to work with you. We need you to come in and teach us that. But they won't do it. You know why? In their mind, it would make them look weak. And they don't want to look weak. See, to me, if I went back and coached again, man, I'd be studying the greatest business minds. I'd be studying the greatest leadership minds, the greatest recruiting minds.
And one thing that you use as a sales pitch is, and the whole motto is everybody needs a coach in life, but you will say who's coaching you, and you'll talk about the top CEOs in the world. They have coaches, right? The top Olympians in the world, they have coaches.
Name one that doesn't have a coach.
Yeah, and so you go through this, but like you're saying, in athletics though, for some reason, some of these guys just refuse to go out and seek the counsel.
So here's the deal. Steve Jobs, if you hadn't seen the new Jobs movie, you got to see it. And you just got to go see it. Jobs, coaching means different things to different people. And this is a real important point I want to make. When we were at that Tony Robbins event, I actually got more out of it when I was able to stand up, get some space away from everybody, and absorb it versus sit in that confined area around people. Well, so coaching is not always formal. You know, and I think Tommy would understand and appreciate this. Coaching is not always in a formal setting like a classroom. Steve Jobs used to take a walk with his coach, Bill Campbell, every Sunday. They may walk for 3 miles, 5 miles, 10 miles, and just talk. And Jobs would say, what do you think about this? And how do you think I should do that? And that's coaching, you know. So it doesn't always have to be in this real structured environment that people can get coaching. And that's really what that Tony Robbins event taught me is I wanted to go for a little while, and then I wanted to take a break for a while. And then I wanted to go and I wanted to take a break. I didn't want to sit there for 6 or 7 straight hours like some of those people did. So different people come with different things they want. But the question is, you know, who's coaching you means you're still coming. You want it. You're hungry.
I got one last question for you then. If let's say you are a hungry coach and maybe you're a younger coach, how do you seek out these aspirational contacts is what you would call them, right? When you're early in your career, you're trying to figure out who are these coaches that I want to study under. How do you get on the radar? Do you just reach out to them and say, hey, I would love to pick your brain?
In some cases, yes. But if you got nothing to, when people reach out to me and they say, you know, I want to spend time with you, then we get an enormous amount of this on Facebook. Facebook messages, Twitter. But they reach out in very lame ways. Hey, I'd like to pick your brain. Hey, I'd like to buy you lunch. Hey, I'd like to do this. Let me tell you how I did it. I went and got a friggin' radio show, and then I interviewed top people because I had something they wanted, which was exposure. So if you don't have anything to offer.
How'd you do it when you were a coach?
When I was a coach, man, I just made connections with key people, and I would leverage people. But you know, if I picked up the phone and called a big time coach right now and said, hey, I'd like to spend 15 minutes picking your brain.
Yeah.
I mean, he's like, man, I ain't got 15 minutes to do. If I call Saban and say, I'd like to pick your brain for 15 minutes, you know, you don't get access to people like that. I got to have something he wants.
So the takeaways from today's show is, one, you have to understand, you have to be humble enough to understand that you need a coach. It don't matter if you're at the elite level, wherever you're at in your life, you need a coach in your life.
That's right.
Right? And the second part is who's coaching you does matter. It can't just be any bozo out there in the streets.
There's so many bad coaches and so many people wake up and call themselves coaches today. I really believe one of your biggest competitive advantages in your whole business is who is your coach, what they're sharing with you and what they're coaching you to do. Your whole advantage could be your coach. So that's it, guys, today. Good coach, bad coach, secrets of great coaches know. Exclusively on the Greatness Network. Let me say it again, thegreatnessnetwork.com, greatnessnetwork.com. You can see all of our shows, including my hometown, our boomtown with Good Time Tommy Davidson.
Thank you, Tommy, as a special guest
today. And I
today.
understand
Thank you for letting me interrupt.
Hey, I understand he's got some pretty big time people coming on the show here coming up, and always spend time with talent. You can see Belinda Arrender's show, Scott Abernathy, Kingpin Landlord. Let's Talk Money with Belinda Arrender. You can see Good Coach, Bad Coach, and Super Coach, and we got all kinds of shows on the Greatness Network. Go there. Everybody needs a coach in life.